Fáilte agus sláinte, a céad míle fáilte, go raibh gach duine go léir fud an domhan. 100,000 welcomes to everybody from around the world to live Irish Myths with myself, Anthony Murphy, from Mythical Ireland. I hope you're all keeping safe and well and that everybody's in good form. And I wish you a very good evening from the Boyne Valley in Ireland for, what is the Irish for episode? Katrina's not on here yet. Episode 36. We've been doing this now every evening for 36 evenings. Tonight we are diverging from the path of place names for a little while because there's lots more to come there, and we're returning to the stories of Finn and the Fianna, suitably heroic tales from slightly later than the mythological cycle involving the two of the Danann, etc., etc. And just to say to you all that you're all wonderful and you're all great support for each other. And sure, we've had nice to and froing, some nice diversions. At times, perhaps I've gone off on tangents a little bit, but that's all right. That's allowed, you know. I mean, it's live, and there's no script. Well, there's no script, strictly speaking, you know. But anyway, just to say briefly, thank you to, who was I to thank tonight? Bear with me a second. Oh, you'd think I'd even have that up in front of me, wouldn't you? Just in terms of episode suggestions. And of course, do keep them coming in, please. Well, Finn and the Fianna was originally suggested by Maureen O'Leary. And of course, it is a very broad and wide subject, which will lead us down, I'm sure, many rabbit holes. On YouTube this evening, Erica Rivertree was the first commenter, in early, actually, in Louisville in Kentucky. Tá an aimseo Greenvar agus 4 agus Guifer, conas tá tú anocht. Yeah, tá an aimseo anseo. Green mar freshen agus Biogon 4 agus Biogon Guifer. I suspect as the sun goes down, it's going to get cool tonight. After live Irish Myths tonight, myself and some of the family are going out into the yard. We're going to do some comet hunting. There are no fewer than 3 comets in the northern circumpolar region of the sky at the moment. I did get a brief look at them a couple of nights ago. Comet Atlas, comet, is it Y4 Atlas, is disintegrating and will soon fade from view. That was the one everybody thought was going to be a whopper in May and going to be really bright. It looks like now it's disintegrating and it's going to break up. There's another comet called Atlas, which is Y1, which is in Cassiopeia, which was quite disappointing in brightness. The best of the 3 was a comet called Pan-STARRS. I think that's called T1 or T2 Pan-STARRS. They're given letters and numbers according to when they were discovered. And Pan-STARRS was a little bit brighter of the 3. So we're going to take the telescopes out and do a little bit of comet hunting later on. So that should be a bit of fun and a little bit of a diversion from everything else. Kirsten says, is ma a ish go will fun a warm fácha an brat fairy in a fidgel. Bejar go ma sé ag tashel uan. And I will translate that for you approximately. It's good to know that the fairy flag has one tune left in its fiddle. We might need it. Michael Murphy says hi from Boston. Fantastic to see you, Michael, and welcome along. Lovely to see you in this evening. And I hope everybody in Boston is in good form and keeping safe and well. Crystal Keith says hi from Texas. Trononawa and Fáilte Goji gach dinner in Texas and in Massachusetts. Nick Eska Casterton on Facebook says, good evening. Hello, Nick. Pat Rowan says, yeah, Anthony. Pat is in Washington State. Steve Martinson says, good evening, Anthony. Hi, Steve. Welcome back. Margaret Ring. Hello, Anthony and everyone. Smiley face. It's good to see you, Margaret. I hope you're not caught up with too much work and may be able to relax this evening. David Gilroy is watching. Hello, David. Long time no see. How are you keeping? In Opwee in Condonamy. Patricia McAteer is watching from Onloo, Omead. Helen Guinan is in the house, Your Majesty. Caitlin Moon, hi Anthony. Gave you a nice big footnote in my chapter today. Oh, fantastic. Lovely. Brilliant. I hope it was good, and I hope it didn't mention bad jokes. Helen says hi, everyone. Hello, Helen. Eva Anderson says hi from Gothenburg. It's been another lovely sunny day today, and that's been one of the saving graces about the situation here in Ireland, where we are in sort of semi-lockdown. The weather has been fantastic. Matt Byrne is watching in the Rohadaha. Hello, Matt. John Donahue is watching. Hello, John. How are you? Michael Naylor says, great to see you, Anthony, Mike, and Jeanette in Princeton in New Jersey. One of my favorite parts of the world. Great to see you in there. Lisa Collins says hello to all. Gia Lisa Rowan Grove. Greetings from snowy again, Colorado. Well, snow. What do you think of that? Yeah, well, go, have some fun with it, but hopefully it won't last too long. John McAndrew says, good afternoon from Rochester, New York. Enjoy your stories very much. Well, thanks, John. And you're very welcome along. Leanne Brenner-Williams says, hello from a snowy Illinois, too. Lots of snow in some of the states. Mariana Dunn, greetings, Anthony and MythFlix Tua from sunny Virginia. And, of course, I might remind you, that is Virginia in the USA, not Virginia in County Cavan. Barbara Barney says, hi, Anthony. Falcha, Barbara. Desiree Riley, good evening, Anthony and Tua. Ready for another episode of MythFlix. Hope everyone is doing well. Well, I can only speak for myself and my family. We are fantastic. Thank you for asking. And I hope everyone else who's watching is in good form and in good shape. Judy McQueen says, hello, Anthony. Falcha, Judy. Jack Durkin says, hi, everyone. Kamani Jeev. Barbara Murphy says, hello from Tucson, Arizona. And great to have another Murphy in the house. Brendan Kinch. Lucky Ireland with clear skies for comet hunting. Spain is covered in cloud. That's why it's got to do with the jet stream, hasn't it? When you guys get the cloud, we get the clear skies. So someone has to suffer, unfortunately. But sure, it won't be too long before the sun returns. David Gilroy Page says, hi, Anthony. Hello, David. Kelly Minich is watching. Hello, Kelly. Mandy McCurl. Hello from the Isle of Mull. Mandy does not mention the weather this evening. Hopefully it's still good. Maeve Fianna Callahan. Hello, all from green and sunny Portland, Oregon. Very nice to have you on board, Maeve. Margaret Ring says, off tonight. Brilliant stuff. Freya is saying Banachti from Sweden. A very good evening to you all, and the same right back at you. Vicky Wallace Southall. Hello, my lovely friends. Hello, Vicky. Yvette Tillema. Yay. Hi, Anthony. Hi, all. Thanks again. Goramila Magiv. Patricia McAteer. Very impressed with the Irish. Yes, it's slow going, Patricia, but I am learning, and I've taken to Duolingo, as well as getting help from my brilliant mentor, Katrina, who's on here most evenings, helping us with the Irish. Pamela Walters says, Tornonawa, Giaev from the Netherlands. You're very welcome along, Pamela. Ta Falcha Roat. Melonello says, hello. Melonello, hello. Rhyming. There's poetry going on there. Donna Jean Porter says, hi, hello, Donna Jean. Robert Arbuckle, what about you, Anthony? Hello, everyone. Robert is in the house. Gia Gwitch, Robert. Federica Guy says hello to all of you from Italy, and all our best wishes and our love from Ireland to all our friends in Italy. John Huggard, another hello from rather snowy Colorado. Loving the series. Keep up the great work. Thank you, John, and it's great to have you along. Pull up a stool, sit by the fire, imagine a roaring hearth, which in your case, if it's snowy, is probably very welcome. Grab yourself a dram. Mine's a Jameson, but whatever you're having yourself, and we'll have some stories and a bit of crack, and maybe a bit of re-raw, August Rulya Bulya. Vicky Wallace Southall says supposed to push 80 today in Oregon. Nice. Susan Kelly Paradis says hello from Susan Kelly in Oregon. First time listener. Susan, you are very welcome. Ta Falcha Roat. Guji Chok Vorku to the Murphy household. And our fellow MythFlixers will undoubtedly give you a very, very warm welcome. Lovely to have all you West Coasters in watching. Doris O'Hara says, hi, Anthony. Giaguch, Doris, Linda, Confroy McElroy, says hello from sunny Jacksonville, Florida. Another first-time listener. Fantastic, Linda. Ta Falcha Roat. And Sláinte. Teresa Wright says, it's snowing in Toronto. Doesn't it snow in Toronto all year round? No, it doesn't. Never mind. Peter Kieran's is watching. Hello, Peter. Hope you're well. Mandy McCurl says it's sunny this evening. Well, fantastic. It seems that you're having the same weather as us these days. Fáilte being issued to the newcomers. Jack Durkin says, hi, everyone. Alan Bryett. Good evening, Anthony. Greetings from Rhode Island. Found out how to get you on the big screen. So reclining and enjoying. Yeah, popcorn in hand. Popcorn in one hand. Fizzy drink in the other, huh? Donna Jean Porter. Gold Peak Diet Iced Tea. Whatever you are having yourself. Cy B says, good evening. Hello. Pat Rhodes says, yeah, crack. It's not that kind of crack. It's Irish crack, which means fun. Good evening, Professor Murphy, says Alex Casterton. And evening to another clap done, absolutely, for the frontliners, the health service personnel. And we should mention that one of the reasons that we're even doing this is the fact that a lot of us are isolated, locked down, furlocked, whatever you want to call it, from work. And it's a nice distraction from everything that's going on. But absolutely, out there at the moment, a hell of a battle is being waged against a tiny enemy. And a lot of people are putting themselves in harm's way in order to make sure that most of us are kept safe. And we're very grateful to them for doing that. On YouTube, did I mention Crystal Keith in Texas? Heard a shot says, Dram topped up, sitting comfortably, and away we go. Good evening, Anthony, and one and all from Tom King. Hello, Tom. Hemp and Asphalt says, hi from California, and I can't remember your name. I apologize. I have to start remembering all these names. Paul Garron says, no more info on Narelta, Goramagot, Pol Ishji Rato, and that is indeed Ratoth. Michael Murphy says he's been waiting all day for this. Fantastic. Well, I hope we don't disappoint you, Michael. It's lovely to have you along. Erica Rivertree says, we love bad jokes. Their merit lies in how high their groan factor is. Yeah, it is true. Mark says, hi from the Black Forest. Gia Gutch, Mark. Nice to have you in this. Paul Garan. Tome Idul Guji on Laura Agi. FB Anish. Brilliant. William King, good evening from Arkansas. Hello, William. John Main says hello from San Francisco. Law Fluck 4 on show. A cold and wet day. Very unusual, is it, for San Francisco? But anyway, we'll maybe send you some of our weather so long as we don't have to deprive ourselves. Now for some stories. But before we get to the stories, the usual thank you to Mythical Ireland patrons over at patreon.com/Mythical Ireland. Thank you, folks, for all your support throughout this. It is very gratefully received. If any of you are interested in becoming a patron of Mythical Ireland, pop over to patreon.com/Mythical Ireland, and I'll just paste that in as a comment on Facebook and on YouTube. And of course, there's absolutely no obligation on you to do so. I will continue to do Live Irish Myths regardless. And that will at all times be open and free to everybody. So tonight we are returning to the Fianna. It's gone beyond isolation now, says Margaret. It's now an institution. Yeah, somebody used to say to me, marriage is an institution, a mental institution. It always depends on what kind of institution it is, Margaret. So long as it doesn't involve having to wear straitjackets, or be kept confined in padded cells, then I think we'll be all right. John Friel just finished clapping in Broadstairs, Kent. Good evening. Good evening, John Tranonowa. Sue Turner, hey, sorry I'm late. You're absolutely fine. We're just about to begin, Sue, so no problem at all. Better late than never, and even better again if you get there before the story. No, definitely not, says John Main. It's known as the Foggy City. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I always thought everywhere in California was always really nice and sunny. You have to go out to the beach for that, do you? And Dot Maynard says hi from Vermont. Hello, Dot. And this is called The Best Men of the Fianna. And this is a follow-on. We did a couple of episodes. We did Finn and the coming of Finn, and then we talked about Finn and his hounds, Bran and Skjolin, and then how he met his wife, etc., etc. So now we're going to progress. And there's lots and lots and lots more. In fact, the Finn cycle goes on to the end of Gods and Fighting Men by lots and lots and lots of chapters. The wearing away of the Fianna, the death of Gaul. Oh yeah, just better not. The Battle of Gowra. Let me have a look here. Let me just very quickly. Sorry, I know I'm getting distracted as usual, as always. What a shocker! Anthony is getting distracted. But once I get stuck into the story, I'll keep going. So we're actually looking there at another. Well, I'm on a page 129, and the section about the Fianna finishes on 314. That is not far off 200 pages. It's about 185 pages. So we've a good bit to go. We've enough to keep ourselves busy for a long time. Hopefully, we'll be able to continue doing this after the COVID-19 situation has died down and after we found a solution to it, a cure for it, some sort of antiviral, some sort of vaccine, that hopefully we can start to return to some sort of normality. And in the meantime, we'll keep doing this every day anyway. Mary McLean says, look forward to this every day. Good stuff, Mary. Very nice to have you along this evening. The best men of the Fianna. And here we go after 16 minutes. So you know what to do. If you're watching back on YouTube, you know what to do. Or even on the Facebook videos, just skip at least the first 11 or 12 minutes and you'll get to the story. Unless, of course, you want to go back on all the greetings. I think I better turn off the speakers just in case we get interrupted by sounds. And while Oisin was in his young youth, Finn had other good men along with him, and the best of them were Gall, son of Morna, and in Irish that's Gall MacMorna, and Coilche, son of Ronan, and Louis' son. As to Gall, that was of Connacht, he was very tall and light-haired, and some say he was the strongest of all the Fianna. Finn made a poem in praise of him one time when some stranger was asking what sort he was, saying how hardy he was and brave in battle, and as strong as a hound o'er the waves, and with all that so kind and so gentle and open-handed and sweet-voiced and faithful to his friends. Sharon Olson says, greetings from Canada. You're amazing. I love your episodes of Mythical Ireland. Thank you, Sharon. Fáilte and pull up a pew and grab a dram. Martin Hughes is also watching. Hello, Martin. Good evening to you. And the chessboard he had was called the Solus Chartic, the Shining Thing. And some of the chessmen were made of gold, and some of them of silver. And each of them was as big as the fist of the biggest man of the Fianna. And after the death of Gall, it was buried in Slieve Baune, B-A-U-N-E. Aaron Durrett says, greetings, Tua and mythical professor. Lovely to see you, Aaron. Giagwich. And as to Coilche, that was a grey, thin man. He was the best runner of them all, and he did a good many deeds. A big man of the Fomor he killed one time, and he killed a 5-headed giant in a wheeling door. And another time he made an end of an enchanted boar that no one else could get near. And he killed a grey stag that had got away from the Fianna through 27 years. Yes, Diarmid is part of the Fianna cycle, Alex, and we will be telling that story later. So, yeah, absolutely. And another time he brought Finn out of Chower, that is Tara, where he was kept by force by the High King because of some rebellion the Fianna had stirred up. And when Coilche heard Finn had been brought away to Chower, he went out to avenge him. And the first he killed was Curach, a king of Leinster that had a great name, and he brought his head up to the hill that is above Boimach. And after that he made a great rout through Ireland, bringing sorrow into every house for the sake of Finn, killing a man in every place, and killing the calves with the cows. And every door the red wind from the east blew on, he would throw it open and go in and destroy all before him, setting fire to the fields and giving the wife of one man to another. And when he came to Chower, he came to the palace, and took the clothes off the doorkeeper, and he left his own sword that was worn thin in the king's sheath, and took the king's sword that had great power in it. And he went into the palace then in the disguise of a servant, to see how he could best free Finn. And when evening came, Coillte held the candle at the king's feast in the great hall, and after a while the king said, "You will wonder at what I tell you, Finn, that the two eyes of Coillte are my candlestick." "Do not say that," said Finn, "and do not put reproach on my people, although I myself am your prisoner. For as to Coillte," he said, "that is not the way with him, for it is a high mind he has, and he only does high deeds, and he would not stand serving with a candle for all the gold of the whole world." After that, Coillte was serving the King of Ireland with drink, and when he was standing beside him, he gave out a high, sorrowful lament. "There is the smell of Coiltte's skin on that lament," said the king. And when Coillte saw him, he knew he spoke out loud. When Coillte saw he knew him, he spoke out and he said, "Tell me what way I can get freedom for my master." "There is no way to get freedom for him but by doing one thing," said the king, "and that is a thing you can never do. If you can bring me together a couple of all the wild creatures of Ireland," he said, "I will give up your master to you then." When Coillte heard him say that, he made no delay, and he set out from Chower and went through the whole of Ireland to do that work for the sake of Finn. It is with the flocks of birds he began, though they were scattered in every part, and from them he went on to the beasts. And he gathered together 2 of every sort. Sounds a little bit like Noah getting ready for the ark. 2 ravens from Fianna, 2 wild ducks from Loch na Selain, 2 foxes from Slieve Coolan, which is Slieve Gullion in County Armagh, 2 wild oxen from Burren, 2 swans from Blue Dovron, 2 owls from the wood of Faradrin, 2 polecats from the branchy wood on the side of Drum Dorian, the ridge of the victories, 2 gulls from the strand of Loch Leith, Leith, 4 woodpeckers from White Brosna, 2 plovers from Corrigan, Dhain, 2 thrushes from Lake Lommard, 2 wrens from Dun Eve, 2 herons from Curran Clave, 2 eagles from Carrig of the Stones. Carrig means stone or rock. 2 hawks from Fiochannock, 2 sows from Loch Maelge, 2 water hens from Loch Erne, 2 moorhens from Mona Ma, 2 sparrowhawks from Doveloch, which literally means Black Lake, 2 stone chats from My Coolan, 2 tomtits from My Tualan, 2 swallows from Shan Aula, 2 cormorants from Clea, 2 cormorants from Dublin, no less, 2 wolves from Bruch Cleahach, 2 blackbirds from the strand of the 2 women, 2 roebucks from Lochar Ear, 2 pigeons from Cascour, 2 nightingales from Lecha Rua, 2 starlings from the green-sided Chower, 2 rabbits from She Dove Dun, 2 wild pigs from Cloy Chur, 2 cuckoos from Drumdive, 2 lapwings from Lannan na Furach, 2 woodcocks from Crave Rua, 2 hawks from the Bright Mountain, 2 great mice from Limnock, 2 mice from Limerick, 2 otters from the Boyne River, 2 larks from the Great Bog, 2 bats from the Cave of the Nuts. Interesting. I wonder if that's got any connection to Nouth. Knogbua, Knogubba. 2 badgers from the province of Ulster, 2 landrail from the banks of the Shannon, 2 wagtails from Port Loriga, 2 curlews from the harbour of Galway, 2 curlews from Galway Bay, 2 hares from Moorhevna, that would be my own home county of Louth, 2 deer from Sheebui, 2 peacocks from My Mel, 2 cormorants from Clea, he said that already, 2 eels from Duchdor, 2 goldfinches from Slieve Nanyun, EUN, 2 birds of slaughter from Myvulg, 2 bright swallows from Granard, 2 redbreasts from the Great Wood, 2 rock cod from Callachorge, 2 sea pigs from the Great Sea, 2 wrens from Mush on Chul, 2 salmon from Ashvik Mornia, 2 clean deer from Glan na Smoil, 2 cows from My Moor, 2 cats from the Cave of Crochan, 2 sheep from Bright Shia Giovlin, 2 pigs of the pigs of the son of Lear, a ram and a crimson sheep from Inish. Along with all these, he brought 10 hounds of the hounds of the Fianna, and a horse and a mare of the beautiful horses of Manannán. Now, can you imagine being a bard, in the early medieval period, and your master says to you one day, well, today we're going to learn the story of the best men of the Fianna, and the pupils all go, oh, great, that sounds interesting, super. Yeah, and you have to learn by heart the following list of creatures and where they're getting them from. I mean, that's a page worth of stuff, And these are all things that would have been absolutely known by heart, from beginning to end. Like the monks, the scribes in the monasteries, the chroniclers, etc. They were the ones who wrote this stuff down. The bards, the filly, the poets, the Olaf, they didn't write anything down. They had to learn all this from memory. And when Coilcha had gathered all these, he brought them to the one place. But when he tried to keep them together, they scattered here and there from him. The raven went away southward, and that vexed him greatly. But he overtook it again at Glandovan, Beann, beside Loch Lurcan. And then his wild duck went away from him, and it was not easy to get it again, but he followed it through every stream to Grey Achill, till he took it by the neck and brought it back, and it no way willing. Yes, sea pigs. Megan Walter says sea pigs, ? Yeah, SEA, it was sea pigs, wasn't it? Can I find it again now is the next thing, I think it was 2 sea pigs. I mean, what are sea pigs, of course I can't find it. Now that I'm looking for it, I can't find it. I'm trying to speed read. Oh, forgot to put my phone on silent. 2 curlews, 2 hares, 2 peacocks, 2 cormorants, 2 eels, 2 goldfinches, 2 birds, 2 bright swallows, 2 redbreasts, 2 sea pigs from the Great Sea. Yeah, that's exactly what it says. Sorry, bear with me one moment while I silence my phone. Now, hopefully. Yeah, tell you what. And indeed, through the length of his life, Coilcha remembered well all he went through that time with the birds, big and little, travelling over hills and ditches and striving to bring them with him, that he might set Finn his master free. And when he came to Chower, he had more to go through yet, for the king would not let him bring them in before morning, but gave him a house having 9 doors in it to put them in for the night. To put them up in for the night. Thanks, Yvette. I'm only seeing your comment now. It takes a couple of minutes, for the broadcast to go out and for you to comment and for that to come back again. So sometimes if you're commenting about something, it might be a couple of minutes ago. And no sooner were they put in than they raised a loud screech altogether, for a little ray of light was coming to them through 50 openings, and they were trying to make their escape. And if they were not easy in the house, Coilcha was not easy outside it, watching every door till the rising of the sun on the morrow. And when he brought out his troop, the name the people gave them was Coilcha's Rabble, and there was no wonder at all in that. But all the profit the King of Ireland got from them was to see them together for that one time. No sooner did Finn get his freedom than the whole of them scattered here and there, and no two of them went by the same road out of Chower. And that was one of the best things Coillte, son of Ronan, ever did. And another time he ran from the wave of Fianna in the south to the wave of Rory in the north. And Culla, his son, was a very good runner too. And one time he ran a race backwards against the 3 battalions of Fianna for a chessboard. And he won the race, but if he did, he went backward over Ben Ether into the sea. It sounds like a little bit like Forrest Gump, run, Forrest, run. And one day I just decided to stop. By falling backwards into the Dublin Bay at Howth. At Ben Etter. Megan Walters, that's going to be a tough one to gather. Yeah, absolutely. 2 of every type of creature and bird in Ireland. Michael Marr is watching. Hello, Michael. How are you? And very good hearing Coillte had. One time he heard the king of the Líne in Connacht at his hunting. And Blomech, that was with him, said, "What is that hunt, Coillte?" "A hunt of 3 packs of hounds," he said, "and 3 sorts of wild creatures before them. The first hunt," he said, "is after stags and large deer, and the second hunt is after swift small hares, and the third is a furious hunt after heavy boars." "And what is the 4th hunt, Coillte?" said Blomech. "It is the hunting of heavy-sided, low-bellied badgers." And then they heard coming after the hunt the shouts of the lads, of the readiest of the men, and the serving men that were best at carrying burdens. Then Blomech went out to see the hunting, and just as Coillte had told him, that was the way it was. And he understood the use of herbs. And one time he met with 2 women that were very downhearted because their husbands had gone from them to take other wives. Seems to be a common theme in the Irish myths, doesn't it? And sometimes they don't even tell the first wife, as in Erimon and Tia, not telling Erimon's first wife, Ova, allegedly buried in Navan, on Ova, you know. And Coillte gave them druid herbs, and they put them in the water of a bath and washed in it, and the love of their husbands came back to them, and they sent away the new wives they had taken. So there you go. A bath of herbs is the cure to all extramarital activity. I did tell you, I think, in at least one of the episodes, you've got to take some of this with a pinch of salt. It is very entertaining at times. Maeve Fianna Callahan says, "Love that. Everyone else looks like a cucumber. Irish. It's a sea pig, obviously." And as to Louis's son, that was of Finn's blood, and another of the best men of the Fianna, he was put into Finn's arms as a child, and he was reared up by Dubon's daughter, that had reared 800 fighting men of the Fianna. By God, she was busy. Till his 12th year. And then she gave him all he wanted of arms and of armour, and he went to Chorrig Conluan and the mountains of Slieve Blama, where Finn and the Fianna were at the time. And Finn gave him a very gentle welcome, and he struck his hand in Finn's hand, and made an agreement of service with him. And he stopped through the length of a year with the Fianna, and he was some way sluggish through all that time, so that under his leading, not more than 9 of the Fianna got to kill so much as a boar or a deer. And along with that, he used to beat both his servants and his hounds. Doesn't give him a name, Louis's son. And at last, the 3 battalions of the Fianna went to where Finn was, at the point of the Fianna on the edge of Loch Lane, and they made their complaint against Louis's son. And it is what they said: "Make your choice now. Will you have us with you, or will you have Louis's son by himself?" Then Louis's son came to Finn, and Finn asked him, "What is it has put the whole of the Fianna against you?" "By my word," said the lad, "I do not know the reason, unless it might be they do not like me to be doing my feats and casting my spears among them." Then Finn gave him an advice, and it is what he said: "If you have a mind to be a good champion, be quiet in a great man's house. Be surly in the narrow pass. Do not beat your hound without a cause. Do not bring a charge against your wife without having knowledge of her guilt. Do not hurt a fool in fighting, for he is without his wits. Do not find fault with high-up persons. Do not stand up to take part in a quarrel. Have no dealings with a bad man or a foolish man. Let 2/3 of your gentleness be showed to women and to little children that are creeping on the floor, and to men of learning that make the poems, and do not be rough with the common people. Do not give your reverence to all. Do not be ready to have one bed with your companions. Do not threaten or speak big words, for it is a shameful thing to speak stiffly unless you can carry it out afterwards. Do not forsake your Lord as long as you live. Do not give up any man that puts himself under your protection for all the treasures of the world. Do not speak against others to their Lord. That is not work for a good man. Do not be a bearer of lying stories or a tale bearer that is always chattering. Do not be talking too much. Do not find fault hastily. However brave you may be, do not raise factions against you. Do not be going to drinking houses. Do all your drinking at home. Sorry, I'm being like, sorry, don't take that seriously. Do not be going to drinking houses or finding fault with old men. Do not meddle with low people. This is right conduct, I am telling you. Do not refuse to share your meat. Do not have a niggard for your friend. Do not force yourself on a great man or give him occasion to speak against you. Hold fast to your arms till the hard fight is well ended. Do not give up your opportunity, but with that, follow after gentleness. And I think Pat Rowan just said these are like mythical commandments, myth commandments. Aren't they a little bit like those instructions, you know, thou shalt and thou shalt not? Except for it just sounds a little bit less like a preaching sermon and a little bit more like just friendly advice. Isn't it wonderful? My grandfather, by his own words, says John Friel, had a bath once a year, whether he needed it or not. I love it. I'm a beach naturalist here on Vashon, says Aaron. We call the cucumbers, even if they are bright orange. Brilliant. A bath goes a long way with marital harmony, says Megan Walters. Brilliant. Don't be going to the drinking houses. Like, as if the Irish would ever take advice like that. I mean, you know, given, and we did say previously, remember that you only, actually, I was telling somebody today, you only have to go back 2 generations in Ireland to a time when people were still telling the stories of the Fianna, you know, orally, mouth to ear, as they had done for generations before. I know for certain that my grandparents told these stories. And my grandparents, you know, sort of would have been approximately born at the turn of the previous century in the early 1900s. You know, we're only like literally, if you go back to when, even say when my mother was young, my mother and father, their parents would have still been telling stories of Finn and the Fianna. But I do think it's funny, you know, that must have been a little part of the story that got forgotten somewhere along the way, or either that, or it was just ignored. You know, it's like, ma'am, but Finn McCool said not to be going to the drinking houses. Sure, look, you know, it's only a story. Don't mind that, you know. That was good advice Finn gave, and he was well able to do that, for it was said of him that he had all the wisdom of a little child that is busy about the house, and the mother herself not understanding what he is doing, and that is the time she has most pride in him. And it's interesting that he has the wisdom of a little child, because remember the symbolism of his his gaining of all the knowledge of Bradon Fassa, of the salmon of knowledge, caught by Finnegas the Druid, and that was the sticking of the thumb into the mouth. And didn't we say that in the first episode where we were recounting the story of the salmon of knowledge, that, you know, that is a very childish symbol, isn't it? A symbol of childhood is for a child to be sucking its thumb. And so it's the innocence of the child, Finn, who suddenly gains all this knowledge. You know, on the one hand, we think of innocent young boy, and on the other hand, we think of this initiation into great realms of mythical knowledge, you know, and sacred knowledge, as it were, you know. And as to Louis's son, that advice stayed always with him, and he changed his ways. And after a while, he got a great name among the poets of Ireland and of Alban. And whenever they would praise Finn in their poems, they would praise him as well. Now, Alban is usually given as Scotland, but sometimes in the story actually refers to Britain at large. But I think a lot of the time it refers to Scotland. And of course, there are plenty of stories of Finn and the Fianna in Scotland as well. Yeah, so he took the advice. He obviously didn't go to the drinking houses. And Aoife, daughter of the King of Lochlan, that was married to Mal, son of Aiel, Aiel, King of Alban, heard the great praise the poets were giving to Louis's son, and she set her love on him for the sake of those stories. And one time, Mal, her husband, and his young men were hunting to shlieve more money in the north of Alban. And when he was gone, Aoife made a plan in her sunny house, where she was, to go over to Ireland, herself and her 9 foster sisters. And they set out and went over the mains of the sea, Manes, till they came to Ben Edder, and there they landed. So there you go. Even in ancient times, people were sailing from Scotland to Dublin. Sorry, I'm just putting a mark in the margin there, as I often do when I come across stuff that's interesting. Please, is he the giant Fianna of the Giant's Causeway? Indeed he is. Yes. And it chanced on that day, there was a hunting going on from Slieve Blama to Ben Ether. And Finn was in his hunting seat, and his fosterling, brown-haired Duvruin, Duibh-Ruinn, beside him. And the little lad was looking about him on every side, and he saw a ship coming to the strand, and a queen with modest looks in the ship, and 9 women along with her. So it wasn't Queen Elizabeth II, obviously. That was a joke. Terrible joke, I know, but, you know. They landed then, and they came up to where Finn was, bringing every sort of present with them. And Aoife sat down beside him. And Finn asked news of her, and she told him the whole story, and how she had given her love to Louis's son, and was come over the sea looking for him, and Finn made her welcome. And of course, the manes of the sea, yes, absolutely right, Margaret, are the manes of the horses of Manannán, the steeds of Manannán. And when the hunting was over, the chief men of the Fianna came back to where Finn was, and everyone asked who was the queen that was with him. And Finn told them her name, and what it was brought her to Ireland. We welcome her that made that journey, said they all. For there is not in Ireland or in Alban a better man than the man she is come looking for, unless Finn himself. As to Louis's son, it was on the far side of Slieve Blama that he was hunting one day, and he was the last to come in. And he went into Finn's tent, and when he saw the woman beside him, he questioned Finn the same as the others had done, and Finn told him the whole story. And it is to you she is come, he said. Pardon me while I turn the page. And here she is to you out of my hand, and all the war and the battles she brings with her. But it will not fall heavier on you, he said, than on the rest of the Fianna. Na Fianna, Connick may age in a Connick. You saw them. You saw them yesterday. Hi, Katrina. Tronawat, Shugwich. And she was with Louis's son a month and a year without being asked for. But one day, the 3 battalions of the Fianna were on the hill of the Poet in Leinster, and they saw 3 armed battalions equal to themselves coming against them. And they asked who was bringing them. It is Mal, son of Aiel, is bringing them, said Finn, to avenge his wife on the Fianna. And it is a good time they are come, he said, when we are gathered together on the one spot. And Katrina says, the deer. Aha, okay. I apologize. Then the 2 armies went towards one another, and Mal, son of Aiel, took hold of his arms, and 3 times he broke through the Fianna, and every time 100 fell by him. And in the middle of the battle, he and Louis's son met, and they fought against one another with spear and sword. And whether the fight was short or long, it was Mal fell by Louis's son at the last. And Aoife stood on a hill nearby as long as the battle lasted. And from that out, she belonged to Louis's son and was a mother of children to him. And there ends the story of the best of the Fianna. I will pause for a moment, but I think we still have time to maybe read on. And the next section is called The Lad of the Skins. And it's a shortish chapter, so I think we will read on. Margaret says, am I right in noticing Coda has been quiet the last few nights? Yes, he's been well behaved, at least this past 2 episodes. Immediately before we began tonight, he was out for quite a long walk with 2 of my children. And so he may actually be just tired, which is a good thing because he's quite lively, as you know. Over on YouTube, Michael Murphy, don't worry about that, Michael. I can talk to you about that. There's absolutely no problem with that. I'll talk to you about that. I'll talk to you about that on an email. Jim Brebner, do all your drinking at home. Laughy face. I'm sorry. I'm aware. There is a serious aspect to that, and that is that, you know, unfortunately, Irish people traditionally, maybe not right now, but traditionally have had a little bit of a reputation as drinkers, heavy drinkers, and alcoholism is actually a fairly major illness and disease in Ireland, and it brings with it a lot of harm. So I should not make such light of the jokes or the situation, but I couldn't help it at that moment in time. In this region of North America, there are prehistoric mounds, says Erica, some serpentine-shaped, which remind me of Mata and the Draco constellation, different peoples responding to similar forces in nature. Very interesting. Interestingly here that we do get linear monuments, but we don't get those long passage mounds that you get in Britain. You know, the linear ones, they're all fairly straight. They don't do that whole serpentine thing, and yet that whole serpentine thing is on the megalithic art, you know, inscribed into the stones. It is interesting. I recall, says Megan, there being a number of feats required to become one of the Fianna. Yeah, oh yeah, I think we did that, didn't we? And one of the major things about having to become a member of the Fianna was that you had to be able to recite an awful lot of poetry. You had to be a poet as well as a warrior, which is very interesting. David Daly says 74 watching. Well done. Thanks, David. And I think it was up over 100 earlier. So people coming and going and enjoying themselves. My hound, Finn the Westie, has been very quiet today, usually jumping all over me, but sleeping at the moment, says Alex. Well, you know, he has to get his rest as well. His little doggy nap, you know. Hopefully he'll stay that way for the rest of the night and you can get a night's sleep yourself. So we'll read a bit more. Look, we've 185 more pages to go in this, so there's no problem. Besides all the men Finn had in his household, there were some that would come and join him from one place and another. One time, oh, hang on a second. Right. I'm going to do it. Tara. I'm going to, yes, okay, all right. I know you all want to see. The live viewers want to see. I'm not going to put you out the back. Come here. Come on. Good boy. Come on. Up you get. Come on. Go up and say hello. There he is. Say hello. Coda. He is very quiet tonight, isn't he? You're not barking, huh? You're not barking. He's like, put me down. I was relaxing out there. Stop this. You're embarrassing me. Say hello. Mm-hmm. Say hello. Yeah. Right, that's enough. Night. Good night. Good night, Skiolan. You all happy now? You had a sudden bout of camera shyness. Besides all the men Finn had in his household, there were some that would come and join him from one place or another. One time, a young man wearing a dress of skins came to Finn's house at Alwyn, and his wife along with him, and he asked to take service with Finn. And remember, Alwyn is the Hill of Allen in County Kildare. And in the morning, as they were going to their hunting, the lad of the skins said to Finn, "Let me have no one with me but myself, and let me go into one part of the country by myself, and you yourself with all your men go to another part. It is on the dry ridges you will go, said Finn. Or is it on the dry ridges you will go, said Finn, or is it in the deep bogs and marshes where there is danger of drowning? I will go in the deep boggy places, said he. And remember, long before modern drainage systems and agriculture, a lot of Ireland was quite boggy. So they all went out from Alwyn, Finn and the Fianna to one part, and the lad of the skins to another part, and they hunted through the day. And when they came back at evening, the lad of the skins had killed more than Finn and all his men together. When Finn saw that, he was glad to have so good a servant. But Conan said to him, the lad of the skins will destroy ourselves and the whole of the Fianna of Ireland, unless you will find some way to rid yourself of him. I never had a good man with me yet, Conan, said Finn, but you wanted me to put him away, and how could I put away a man like that, he said. The way to put him away, said Conan, is to send him to the King of the Floods, to take from him the great cauldron that is never without meat, but that has always enough in it to feed the whole world. Sounds a little bit like the Dagda's cauldron, doesn't it? And let him bring that cauldron back here with him to Alwyn, he said. So Finn called to the lad of the skins, and he said, go from me now to the King of the Floods, and get the great cauldron that is never empty from him, and bring it here to me. So long as I am in your service, I must do your work, said the lad of the skins. And with that he set out, leaping over the hills and valleys, till he came to the shore of the sea. And then he took up 2 sticks, and put one of them across the other, and a great ship rose out of the 2 sticks. The lad of the skins went into the ship then, and put up all the sails and set out over the sea. And he heard nothing but the whistling of eels in the sea, and the calling of gulls in the air, till he came to the house of the King of the Floods. And at that time there were hundreds of ships waiting near the shore, and he left his ship outside them all, and then he stepped from ship to ship, till he stood on land. There was a great feast going on at that time in the king's house, and the lad of the skins went up to the door, but he could get no farther because of the crowd. So he stood outside the door for a while, and no one looked at him, and he called out at last, this is a hospitable house indeed, and these are mannerly ways, not to ask a stranger, is there a hunger on him, or thirst? That is true, said the king, and give the cauldron of plenty now to this stranger, he said, till he eats his fill. So his people did that, and no sooner did the lad of the skins get a hold of the cauldron than he made away to the ship and put it safe into it. But when he had done that, he said, there is no use in taking the pot by my swiftness if I do not take it by my strength. And with that he turned and went to land again. And the whole of the men of the army of the King of the Floods were ready to fight. But if they were, so was the lad of the skins. And he went through them and over them all till the whole place was quiet. He went back to his ship then and raised the sails and set out again for Ireland. And the ship went rushing back to the place where he made it. And when he came there, he gave a touch of his hand to the ship, and there was nothing left of it but the 2 sticks he made it from, and they lying on the strand before him, and the cauldron of plenty with them. And he took up the cauldron on his back, and brought it to Finn, son of Coel, at Alwyn. And Finn gave him his thanks for the work he had done. One day now, Megan says, thief. One day now, Finn was washing himself at the well, and a voice spoke out of the water, and it said, very, very curious reference. We've had numerous references to washing at the well. One wonders if the wells weren't used for drinking at all and only for washing. Because, I mean, you're hardly going to wash at the well and then drink from it, are you? Interesting question. Were there some wells that were for washing and some for extracting drinking water? A voice spoke out of the water, and it said, you must give back the cauldron, Finn. I'm saying this in a manly voice. This could be a woman speaking. You must give back the cauldron, Finn, to the King of the Floods, or you must give him battle in place of it. Finn told that to the lad of the skins, but the answer he got from him was that his time was up, and that he could not serve on time that was past. But if you want me to go with you, he said, let you watch my wife, that is Manannán's daughter, through the night. And in the middle of the night, when she will be combing her hair, any request you make of her, she cannot refuse it. And the request you make is that she will let me go with you to the king of the floods, to bring the cauldron to his house, and to bring it back again. So Finn watched Manannán's daughter through the night, and when he saw her combing her hair, he made his request of her. I have no power to refuse you, she said, but you must promise me one thing, to bring my husband back to me, alive or dead. And if he is alive, she said, put up a grey-green flag on the ship coming, but if he is dead, put up a red flag. Now, immediately, that reminds me of the story of the Maiden's Tower at Mornington, at Inverculpa, which is precisely about the same thing. That if the hero was to die in battle, they were to put up a red banner, but if he was victorious, they were to put up a white banner. So Finn promised to do that, and he himself and the lad of the skins set out together for the dun of the king of the floods, bringing the cauldron with them. By the way, not to spoil it, because I haven't read this in a long, long time, and I can't remember it, but in the story of the Maiden's Tower, the banner is red, and she throws herself from the top of the tower. She kills herself, basically. So Finn promised to do that, and he himself and the lad of the skin set out together for the dun of the king of the floods, bringing the cauldron with them. No sooner did the king see them than he gave word to all his armies to make ready. But the lad of the skins made for them and overthrew them, and he went into the king's dun and Finn with him, and they overcame him and brought away again the cauldron that was never empty. But as they were going back to Ireland, they saw a great ship coming towards them, and when the lad of the skins looked at the ship, he said, I think it is an old enemy of my own that is in that ship, that is trying to bring me to my death because of my wife that refused him her love. And when the ship came alongside, the man that was in it called out, I know you well, and it is not by your dress I know you, son of the king of the hills. And with that he made a leap onto the ship, and the two fought a great battle together, and they took every shape, and began young like two little boys, and fought till they were two old men. They fought from being two young pups till they were two old dogs, from being two young horses till they were two old horses. And when they began to fight in the shape of birds, it is in that shape they killed one another at the last. And Finn threw the one bird into the water, but the other, that was the lad of the skins, he brought with him in the ship. And when he came in sight of Ireland, he raised a red flag, as he had promised the woman. And when he came to the strand, she was there before him. And when she saw Finn, she said, It is dead, you have brought him back to me. And Finn gave her the bird, and she asked, was that what she was to get in the place of her husband? And she was crying over the bird, and she brought it into a little boat with her, and she bade Finn to push out the boat to sea. And he pushed it out, and it was driven by wind and waves, till at last she saw two birds flying, having a dead one between them. And the two living birds let down the dead one on an island. And it was not long till it rose up living, and the three went away together. And when Manannán's daughter saw that, she said, There might be some cure for my man on the island, the way there was for that dead bird. And the sea brought the boat to the island, and she went searching around, but all she could find was a tree having green leaves. It might be in these leaves the cure is, she said, and she took some of the leaves and brought them to where the lad of the skins was, and put them about him. And on that moment he stood up as well, and as sound as ever he was. They went back then to Ireland, and they came to Alvin at midnight, and the lad of the skins knocked at the door, and he said, Put me out my wages. There is no man, living or dead, has wages on me but the lad of the skins, said Finn. And I would sooner see him here tonight, he said, than the wages of 3 men. If that is so, rise up, and you will see him, said he. So Finn rose up and saw him, and gave him a great welcome, and paid him his wages. And after that he went away, and his wife with him, to wherever his own country was. But there were some said that he was gone to the country of his wife's father, Manannán, son of the sea. Well, there you go. And that's a completely different ending to the story about the Maiden's Tower where she dashes herself on the rocks. So there you go. That's like the death of Arthur and changed into a raven. Arthur, maybe? Arthur, correct. The Finnish myths also tell of the cauldron that always had the most delicious stew that was never ending, called the Sampo. Very interesting. Similar themes, yes, indeed. Seems like the lad of the skins and his wife were not of this world, says Megan. Indeed, absolutely. And Alex says, I think some versions say Finn did actually find Undry, what is Dagda's cauldron. Yeah, it sounds very similar anyway, doesn't it? On YouTube, Julianne, the greedy vegan, says, hello from up north. Thank you. Second live. Love it. Thank you. Very nice to have you along, Julianne. Jigwich. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Erica Rivertree, in the Peat Fire Flame by Alistair McGregor. He makes reference to serpent mounds in Scotland, which sparked my curiosity about any similarities or lore of alignments between here and there, or there and here. Hemp and Asphalt says, I missed it. What book are you reading from again? It's Lady Gregory's Gods and Fighting Men. And I think it's actually available free to read online. But you should be able to pick up a secondhand paperback copy of it rather cheaply. In fact, if you don't mind buying secondhand, I have picked up secondhand copies of it for as little as €1.50 or €2. Is it Finn or Fionn? What is the difference? Ulster versus Munster Irish, maybe. Well, actually, interesting in that regard is the fact that the old Irish version of the word Finn is Find, F-I-N-D, which means bright or fair or white, etc., etc. And I think Finn and Fionn are variants of it. They're all basically the same word. But as I was saying, I think in previous episodes, generally with deities and with personages in mythology, there are generally at least a few different ways of spelling their names. And if you've read MacKillop's Oxford Encyclopedia of Irish Myth, or the Oxford Dictionary of Irish Myth or Celtic Myth, you'll find that in some cases there are 8 or 9 different spellings. Katrina's giving us the link to where you can read the story online. So maybe you'd like to read along. Maeve, Fianna, Callan. Anthony, do you know if there's a connection from Finn to Saint Finian? I don't offhand know that, Maeve. Let me just check MacKillop, the aforementioned MacKillop. I wonder whether he actually mentions Saint Finian at all. Some of the saints do get a mention. And I believe no is the answer in this case, as in he doesn't have anything about Saint Finian. Let me just see if there's a Finian without the saint appellation. What way is it spelled? F-I-N-I-A-N? Ah, yes, isn't this great fun? Finian, variant spelling of Finian with 2 N's, F-I-N-N-I-A-N. Okay, we'll go find that then. Yeah, interesting. Finian, yes, so it's a variant. Irish, Finn, fair, bright, etc. Name borne by several early Irish ecclesiastical figures, notably the 2 saints cited below, which are Finian of Clonard, Saint Finian of Clonard, and Saint Finian of Moville. Just wonder whether. Just bear with me a second. I just have a quick speed read of that, Maeve, just to see if there's any suggested connection. St. Finian of Clonard, 6th century, founder of the abbot of the monastery of Clonard, east of the modern town of Kinnegad, near the Boyne River, County Westmeath. Later legend makes Finian the tutor of the saints of Ireland, especially the 12 apostles of Ireland, i.e. the founders of Irish monasteries and the next generation of saints. His feast day is 12th of December. Doesn't say, it does give some references to further studies, which doesn't say. St. Finian of Moville, Magbilla, the plain of the large venerated tree, Moville, my villa. 6th century bishop and founder of the Abbey of Rome, east of Newtownards, Moville, east of Newtownards, County Down, sometimes called Finian the Younger or Finvar. According to legends accruing to St. Finian, he entered the fortress of the pagan king Tuan Macaral, interesting, hoping to convert him to Christianity. To do this, Finian listened to Tuan's stories, which included the invasions of Ireland, along with much of the rest of the pre-Christian history of the country. And so we're going to be doing an episode on Fintan MacBorcra / Tuan Macaral, because there's so many similarities between them. In other legends associated with Finian of Moville, some of which confuse him with personages of similar name, he was A, thought to have the power to change the course of rivers, and B, embarrassed by a Pictish princess whose advances he rejected. His feast day is 10th of September. One thought distinct from Finian of Moville, feast day 11th of February. The two are now thought to be identical. Yeah. No mention of any connection with Finn, so I can't help you no more. David Halpin is watching. Hello, David. Great to see you. Circle Stories. Everybody get over to Circle Stories on Facebook and give it a like. Patricia Healy Sullivan, I watch you every night. Thanks, Patricia. I hope you're enjoying the stories, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Megan, I feel like I've seen the name Finderbar somewhere. Oh, you probably have in several different stories. Steve Martinson, Lady Gregory's Complete Irish Mythology paperback. Oh, that's a description of it. The spelling varies, I think. Yes, indeed it does, Maeve. Thanks so much for reading the legends. Makes me think of Eddie Lennon. Pardon me for going slightly off topic. Do you know any of the legends involving High Brazil? Yes, we are going to be doing an episode. Let me just make sure that I did actually note that as an episode suggestion. We are going to be doing at least one episode of High Brazil. There's lots and lots to be said about it. Yep, High Brazil is there. So I will do that one soon, I think. Mello Nello. It says hello. High Brazil, the legendary island. I'm finding it very difficult to find any information on it. Thank you. Yes, we will get to that, Mello. No problem at all. Maeve says, my paternal family name McClintock is said to derive from the Gaelic for the son of the servant of St. Finian. My good friend, the author Chris McClintock, should know the answer to that. However, let me just very briefly have a look for you. MC Muck or MAC, it probably doesn't matter too much. They both mean the same thing, don't they? McClintock, numerous. Ulster generally. Irish Magiola Funtog, devotee of Fintog, F-I-N-N-T-O Fada G. Perhaps Fintan. Magiola Funtog. Very interesting. So there you go. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, yeah, it's backwards. So does I can send you a picture of that and email it on to you, Maeve, afterwards. No problem. Katrina, we have a lot of fair-haired children. The influence of the Vikings, Finn and Fionn and Fianna, etc., are common names. Finian is a common name in Westmeath. Interesting. Yeah, indeed. My own youngest son is called Finn, but I named him from the myths because I loved the name. Maeve says, thank you, Anthony. No problem. Drop us an email. Whoa, can't wait, says Melonello. Yeah, I think we'll be able to do that one soon. So there are some subjects that will require me to do research. And so at the moment, in the early part of this, I know we're 36 episodes in, I'm trying to do stuff where I can mostly read and not have to, because I'm still working full time. So the ones that are easier to do, I will do. And definitely there's lots of information about High Brazil. What's it say for surname Rowan, says Pat Rowan in Port Townsend. Let me see, Pat. Now, remember, these are all Ireland surnames. Rowan, numerous, all areas, especially Eastern Ulster, East Midlands. Irish O Ruan, R-U-A-D-H, A for the I-N. This name is generally English from the tree, but also a synonym of Rohan and Ruan, R-O-H-A-N and R-U-A-N-E. Interesting. So it's possible that it could be an English name, but it's also possible that it could be a variant of the Irish surnames Rowan and Ruan. So there you go. An episode of Brehon Law would be great. Great time today. Thank you, says Aaron. The Brehon Laws. Oh my God. How have we not got that suggested so far? Pardon me. Aaron Direct. Hope I'm pronouncing your surname right, Aaron. Lovely first name, by the way. Where'd you get that? Later, Anthony. Good stuff, Pat. Rowan is my son, says Katrina. Roghan. Very nice. My Angora goat's name is Fionn, says Yvette Tillema. There you go. Ruan, reddish brown, or Rowan tree. Yeah. John Huggard says, insert Lord of the Rings reference. Absolutely. Thank you, says Pat. No problem. Rowan Grove. What? The book names. All Ireland surnames. Sean de Vulve. Debhulbh. And that was published in 2002 by Clochar August Targia Ag Intype Limited, Limnach in Limerick, INTYPE Limited. And I do have another one there, and that is Guide to Irish Surnames by Edward MacLizat. Hope that helps. Red berries. Yes, the Rowan berries. Absolutely. YouTube. My son is called Fionn too. He is bright blonde German hair. We live in Germany, by the way. Absolutely. Captain Shamrock says, how late am I? Lol. You're late enough to have to watch the video to get the story, Captain Shamrock. But look, it's always good to see you, whether you're late or not, you know. But don't worry. Hempen Ashford said, I missed it. What book are you reading from again? Yeah, well, that was Lady Gregory's Complete Irish Mythology, which is 2 books into one, and the first book being Gods and Fighting Men. I'm actually going to have an early night. Was in the field working all day, so we'll catch this on YouTube later. Night, everyone, and God bless. Ihowa. Captain Shamrock. Thanks everybody for watching tonight. More tomorrow. What day is today? We'll be an hour early tomorrow, folks. You know the story with Friday evening. Friday is date night, so I'll be at 7 Irish time tomorrow. So if you're used to watching from East Coast states at 3 o'clock, it'll be 2 p.m. If you're used to watching, let me get this right now if you're used to watching, what time is it in Port Townsend, Pat? Is it 1 or is it 12 noon? I should know these off by heart at this stage. I really should. You'll be an hour earlier anyway. I think so generally Seattle is 12 noon, so you'll be 11 a.m. tomorrow. If you're in Denver and you normally watch at 1 p.m., you'll be watching at 12 noon. If you're in Dallas or Austin in Texas and you normally watch at 2 p.m., you'll be watching at 1 p.m. And of course, all of the Europeans in the likes of Munich and Italy, etc., you'll be watching at 8 p.m. instead of your usual 9 p.m. Okay. Thanks. Sonas Orev Golair, Abanachti. Have a good night's sleep. Kolasov. We'll see you all tomorrow evening. Slán go fóill. Goodbye for now. And I'm going to take Finn's advice. I'm not going to go to the drinking house, but I am probably going to have a wee dram before I go to bed. But first of all, we are going out to hunt for some. It's this deep. We've entered into deep twilight now, so we're going to get the telescopes and the binoculars out, and we're going to go comet hunting. There are no fewer than 3 comets viewable in the northern part of the sky at the moment. Good night, Kolasov, Ikawa, and Slán go fóill. Take it easy, everyone. This has been Live Irish Myths, otherwise known as MythFlix, episode Tríocha is a Shay, and tomorrow, Tríocha Shacht. There you go. Bye-bye and good night. YouTubers, you always get that few extra seconds. How lucky are you? Okay. And Cholasov, August Banachty, August Slán go fóill, to all the YouTubers. Cheers and slán. Good night.